Hey guys, Eric here. I am joined by Aaron Stanford. Aaron, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. You are starring currently in a show I absolutely love, and we've been pushing a lot here at IGN, 12 Monkeys.
Yes, thank you.
It's very easy to enjoy this show. There's a lot going on in this show too. Let me pick up with sort of what just happened, because it is another oh my gosh moment where he, in 2017, he's now there, the plague has begun, and apparently there might not be any way to leave. So what is his next move at this point?
I don't think he knows his next move at that point. He's in a pretty desperate place and grasping at straws. I think he doesn't have any more clue than the audience does. It all hits him at the same time.
This show is really clever and interesting with the use of time travel and what the possibilities are. For you, when you're reading these scripts, is there moments where you're like, wait, what exactly is happening here? Because there are those sort of fake outs and those moments where things can get really twisted and turned.
There are, yeah. I absolutely hoped for that and expected that in a show like this, and haven't been disappointed in the scripts. And I like the complexities. I like that it's a puzzle that you have to solve and figure out. And I think the majority of the audience does too. I mean, I think that's one of the attractions to a time travel show.
Your character has got such a big mission, and he knows it's the fate of the humanity, literally. And so along the way, he's forced to make some really sort of big and dark decisions. For him, when he's killing Henri or something like that, do you think, in a way, does it give him an out that he thinks, if I succeed, this version of me will vanish?
Yeah.
So maybe, even though I'm sure it still eats at him, that he's like, if I succeed, I'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how he sets off on the mission, and I think he's also been indoctrinated with this idea that any means justify the ends that he's trying to achieve. And in the pilot, he has a conversation with Cassie where he basically says, he's starting with a zero balance sheet, and he can only go up from that. He says, everyone's dead.
Right.
Everybody is dead. So you can basically, any life that you take or any damage that you do in the pursuit of saving humanity it's fair game. So I think he felt like that, and but now that he's spent a little more time in the past and he's gotten to know some people personally, he's developed relationships with people.
Yeah.
He's starting to feel differently about it, and it's becoming more difficult for him, and it costs him more now, I think, when he has to do those things.
He really is going back and forth through time, not just to specific other sort of tangent little places, but a lot with 2015 and 2043.
Yeah, those are the two main.
Those are the two main, and for you as an actor, it's keeping you busy, I'm sure, but is it also very interesting for you to have these two extremely different environments, a different set of co-stars, basically, that you're dealing with? Is that kind of, is it fun or a little confusing?
It's great, yeah. I love it. I love the contrast of it, for one thing, and yeah, it's a ton of fun just to see how these different worlds change through Cole's eyes, how his perceptions change of both of these worlds. Someone who comes from this future, apocalypse, and he's never seen a lot of the things that we take for granted, in our time. The music, the art, the food, and having him experience those things for the first time, and then going back to the reality that he knew before and how it changes his behavior in that other environment. He sort of becomes a beast of no nation. He doesn't belong in either place after a while.
And because he's trying so much, and they're trying a lot of different things that for now, because we want the show to continue for a while, aren't succeeding. Is that kind of eating away at him? It's like, oh, this didn't work. Or for him, is it knowing how bleak the future is, it's like, just got to keep trying. There's got to try a different
No,
angle.
it definitely eats at him. And every time something goes wrong, he loses confidence in the people who are running the mission, and whether or not Jones actually does know what she's talking about, because she keeps being wrong.
Right,
So
right.
how many times can you do this? And you know, they've already had the discussion that there's a finite number of splinters and of jumps that he can do, and so yeah, I think the pressure is mounting.
I remember I talked to you a couple months ago, and we were talking a bit about how, going into the show, I think people might have assumed it's, he comes back in time, and him and Cassie meet up, and they kind of go on adventures, for lack of a better word, together. But the show hasn't, been that. Even though you do work together, then you often split off. She's doing stuff, you are. Do you like that it's like, not following sort of that one thing, that you do get to go in your own directions?
I like that it breaks it up.
Yeah.
For sure. And what I love about the episodes where you focus more on the future world. That was something I was really excited about in the project. Was, this is what's great about television, is that in a 2-hour film, we wouldn't be able to explore the future world that exhaustively. You'd be able to see a couple of shots of it, a couple scenes that would suggest things, but with a TV show, you can go and you can devote an entire episode to this future world and what this place looks like and what the scavenger camp looks like. That was a great day shooting, seeing them lay out that whole scav camp and all the extras they brought in and all the amazing set that they constructed, this Mad Max tent city. And so yeah, I love that they're able to devote large chunks or entire episodes to one place or another place and really commit to it and explore it. I think it's great.
The last episode brought Xander Berkeley into the mix.
Yes.
And he's
what
awesome.
a heavyweight, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, obviously, well, some people know, some people don't. Behind the scenes, Travis and Terry, who created the show, were writers for Nikita, besides Travis working here at IGN at one point.
Yeah.
And then you've got you and Noah, and now Xander. Is that fun for you, or it's just like, wow, that's kind of getting some of the gang back together in that way?
I love it. I love a chance to work again with people that you already have a working relationship with, and especially the cast of the show I was on. I was on it for roughly 4 years.
Yeah.
So these people really, really well, and you've developed a shorthand, and and they know you, and you've figured out how to work together. So there's not this awkward adjustment period that you often have when you just begin working with someone. You're figuring out how they do what they do. So it's been nothing but great to have those guys back on, and they're all fantastic actors.
A few more episodes left for season 1. Anything you can say, sort of, a broad, without spoiling things, and broadly sort of tease where things will go in these final few episodes?
It's really difficult to do that without tipping the hand. I can tell you that it continues to get more and more intense, which I didn't think was possible. But as I read the scripts, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I can't. I'm trying to think of a good way to do it. I'm not coming up with something.
Right.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, though, that it'll keep the twists and turns coming.
It absolutely will. It kept the twists and turns coming for me as we were shooting it. Every new script I got, it was just like a brand new puzzle to solve. So I think people will not be disappointed.
Oh, cool. Well, so we got 12 Monkeys Friday nights on Sci-Fi. So keep tuning in.
Yes, please.
And then I wanted to just ask you a little bit. We were talking about Nikita. You knew I was a huge fan of that show. With a show like that, is it? It was on for 4 years, like you said, and a very, it was I guess people would call it a cult show, but it has this very loyal audience. The thing to me just stands out is that you got to really do an ending, because a lot of shows don't. For you, do you like that you got is this sort of complete story you get to tell?
I love that, and you owe it to the audience. It was great for us, as a cast, to be able to bring something to a completion. But that you owe that to people. You're telling a story, so you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, I think it's really, really disappointing when you commit to a show and you give years of your life to it, and people just sort of cut it off mid-stride. I think it's awful when they do that. So it was really nice that we got the time that we got, which was in large part due to the fans. There were all sorts of fan-driven campaigns to keep the show going, and they were successful, and we got 4 seasons out of it, and knew ahead of time when we were going to end it, and were able to tie it up really nicely.
Do you like the ending that Burkoff got specifically, and how his story played out?
Yeah, I think it was great. It was a happy ending for him, and I loved his journey throughout the whole series. He really started off as someone that people weren't sure that they liked. He was kind of a nasty little rat of a character,
right.
in Division, and then over time, he really absolutely transformed into this beloved member of the team, and it was great. And so in the end, he's going off to be who he's supposed to be. He's going back to essentially to his old roots, and but with a new perspective.
What do you think it was? You mentioned like he did become very beloved, and very, a lot of people found him very endearing. What do you think it was about him that, like you said, when they first met him, maybe they weren't sure, but as it went on?
Yeah, I for one thing, he was a lot of people's way into the story. He was the one character that people could say that's me.
Right.
That's me in those circumstances. So I think people responded to that, and then also, he became. He became a better person over time. He wasn't a great person when the series began, and over time he developed attachments to these other characters, and he became a much less selfless person. And you saw him sort of grasp the concept of self-sacrifice for the very first time, and step up to the plate, and he found love. And all these things fundamentally changed him as a character and made him a better person.
Is it cool for you these days that a show like Nikita, just even being on Netflix, the entire thing's on Netflix, that it's like there's always a new viewer out there, that it's like one of those things where people can always find a show like that?
I think it's great. I mean, the way that we're able to watch film and television now is fantastic. When I was growing up, if you had a favorite show and you missed that 9 o'clock time slot on Thursday, you would never see it again.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
That was your one chance to see it, unless maybe the show was syndicated and you happened to be lucky enough to be around when it was being replayed. But for the most part, that was it. And now I love that will never happen. You will always be able to see everything that you want to see, when you want to see it, in the frequency that you want to see it. We're very much in control now of the way that we can consume these things.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you, it's funny to think that it's been 12 years since X2 came out.
God,
yeah. And when that came out, you think about it, it was like there was the XMen movies and there was the Spider-Man movies, and I guess we were starting to get a little bit more. I think Daredevil might have come out around the same time, but
yeah,
so much has changed as far as when you look at now the output of Hollywood. For you, what it was like at the time doing it was a follow-up to a successful movie, but not as huge as it's become, to see where the sort of superhero movie has gone since then, and to know that you were right there as it was blowing up like that.
I guess it was on the cusp. At the time when I was doing it, it didn't seem like that. It seemed like comic book films were already really big.
Right.
But you're right. It was before the true. I don't know what word to use, holocaust of comic book films, and it's so huge now, and it's everywhere you look, and now it's in television now, it's an extrememally dominant form of storytelling, and people really respond to it. It's archetypal characters and situations that basically everyone all over the globe can understand and be entertained by. So yeah, it is interesting being having been on the crest of that. Yeah.
Is that like a world that at some point be interested in revisiting?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's always I don't avoid any genre. It's if I like the story, I want to do it. I'd love to do it. It's all about it's generally all about the script. And, you know, if the characters are there, if the relationships are there, if the story is there, any genre can be great. Any genre can be elevated to, you know, towering heights.
You know, Fox is now sort of branching out the X-Men series in a way that they never did before. There was rumbles they would, but they never did. But now they're kind of going big with all these different spin-offs and films. And no one's really sure, like, if they're going to revisit sort of the era and characters that you were involved in again. But if they did, would you, you know, be curious to catch up with Pyro and see where he's
yeah.
at?
I'd love to. I'd love to. I don't think it's happening anytime soon with the, you know, with the next. What's the next one? They had Days of Future Past.
Apocalypse, but then they're also doing Deadpool and Gambit. So yeah, it's kind of all these.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course, I'd love to do it.
Right. Yeah. So you get another rematch with Iceman.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. I mean, it was such a cheap shot the way he took me
That's
out
right.
this last time. I mean, I need to answer that for sure.
I think so. I think so. Well, Aaron, thanks again for coming in.
Thank
you. Once again, 12 Monkeys, please check out on Friday nights at Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
I'm in the middle of the woods. No bleach.
Okay, can you start a fire?
A fire.
The heat from the fire will destroy the virus from the outside. Cole.
No fire.
Cole. I lost him.